supposed to be in the wild card race. And that didn't happen.
Nope. I read a report that said they're open to trading Avisail Garcia.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Well, if they trade him, that really makes that 3-team trade with Jake Peavy and Jose Iglesias look terrible, because
right.
I remember the next year or last year, Rick Hahn even came out and said it's not often that when you make a 3-team trade that every team gets something really good, where he said the Red Sox, Peavy helped the Red Sox win the World Series, the Tigers got a franchise shortstop, and he said the White Sox got the best out of the deal with Avisail Garcia, and now they're finally realizing he's just not that good.
Yeah, right now you would have to say that the Tigers got a pretty good deal there. With
I mean, the Red Sox won a World Series, except for long-term value, definitely the Red Sox. I'm sorry, the Tigers.
Yeah.
The Red Sox won the World Series with Jake Peavy. I'm sure they're happy with their end of that deal.
Yeah, but the thing about Avisail Garcia, he gets hurt a lot. He's injury prone. He's kind of like Soler, and that only Soler's a better player. But the thing is, I don't think I would trade Avisail Garcia. We still haven't really seen what he's doing. If you're not really expected to do anything, I think he's a pretty good young player. He's got some power. He's okay defensively. Sometimes he's really horrible defensively, but a lot of times he's really good defensively.
Yeah, I mean, if you take away those home runs he robbed, his defense really grades out terribly. The White Sox outfield graded out as one of the worst defensive outfields.
Oh yeah, because Adam Eaton does the same thing. He'll make these really good plays, and although last year he didn't do anything except for some reason he hit a bunch of home runs.
Miss routine plays, and the thing with Avisail Garcia, if he was on the Cubs, he wouldn't have robbed any home runs last year. He can't rob home runs at Wrigley.
It's pretty impossible unless you really have mad hops to rob something over the basket, right? It's pretty impossible.
Right, if you put him at a lot of different ballparks, he's not robbing any of those home runs. Yeah. And the thing is, because the fences are so far in, at a lot of stadiums, those are just outs.
That's true. It's definitely a very hitter-friendly park. Plus, they have the wind that blows out there, too, a lot of times. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's just they're in a bad situation.
They're in one of the worst situations of a lot of teams in baseball, because they're kind of like the Padres. The front office doesn't know if they should do a full-out rebuild or if they should try to win.
And we're starting to see, if you take a couple years or 5 like the Cubs did to rebuild, you're going to be in a better situation for a longer period of time.
Rick Hahn even went out and said that if you do like a Cubs and Astros like rebuild, you're bad for at least 5 years, and he said he doesnn't believe that the Sox need to do that, even though they've been...
The Sox especially need to do that. I mean, it's not a big market. They always say, the Sox fans aren't open to rebuilding. Well, okay, what Sox fans are you talking to? First of all, it's a Cubs-friendly city. There's really not a whole bunch of Sox fans you can talk to. And second of all, of course they'd be open to it, because they saw what happened on the north side.
Right, and they also saw what happened last year for the White Sox. And another thing, this rebuild should have started a long time ago. This rebuild should have started after the 2012 collapse.
Yeah, exactly. After the 2012 collapse, where they just missed out on the playoffs, they should have rebuilt and be like, okay, Detroit's better than us. Kansas City is definitely on the rise. Cleveland, has a lot of young players.
And the thing is that at that time they had very, very little. They had very little pieces in their minor league system and at the major league level, and then they still don't go and try to trade for some prospects and then draft and develop properly. Instead, they go and sign free agents, so they lose high draft picks.
Instead, they signed Adam LaRoche last year, which, I mean, that has to be one of the worst signings that they've ever had, just because of how horrible he is. I mean,
although Adam Dunn, I think, has to be worse just because his deal was longer.
At least he had a good year. He was good in 2012. At least he had a good year.
Besides the year he hit 153.
Well, that was a shame.
I remember.
Yeah.
Was your friend Mark furious over that?
Oh, yeah. He was done with him. He was done with a lot of players. He's finally off the Tyler Flowers train, which finally he is.
I'm surprised there was anyone left on it.
Oh, he was front-running that. He thought, hey, Tyler Flowers isn't as bad as people say, just because he was okay. Like when he first came up, he was okay, but he was never really that good.
Because back then he was able to hit 200.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that just. I mean, I don't understand why the Sox wouldn't be open to rebuild, and like fans are always calling in the radio station saying that, we don't need to do that. We're not like the Cubs. We don't need to rebuild, whatever. But you see what numerous examples all around baseball that
Cubs,
you need to do that.
Astros, and the Phillies are going into one.
Yeah, the Phillies are going into one.
Look what happened to the Nationals when they did. I mean, with the
Even the
exception,
Mets.
Yeah, the Mets. I mean, with the exception of this past season's Nationals, they've been pretty darn good.
Right.
And I mean, it really just it's mind-boggling that the White Sox are don't know what they're
The White
doing.
Sox are pretending they're the Dodgers or the Yankees. You can't be those teams. You're not the Dodgers. You're not the Yankees.
And the thing
you
is,
don't have the money.
yeah.
You don't have the players that are going to come to your team.
You don't even have the proper player development staff in the minors.
No, and the White Sox normally have a pretty good farm system. At least they did for a while, but now the Cubs skyrocketed.
Their farm system was always good with pitching. It was never good with position players.
Well, clearly not, because they never really developed. I mean, except for a couple people when they won the World Series.
Right. What players on the White Sox in recent memory, position players, were drafted and developed and were actually good? They traded for Paul Konerko, so you can't say him.
Was Joe Creedy?
I think Joe Creedy was one of theirs.
Okay, so you could say Joe Creedy. AJ was
they signed
in a trade,
him.
and
I think he was a free. I think he was released by the Giants, and they signed him.
Yeah, and so you have that. And
Alexi Ramirez was a free agent.
Aaron Rowan came from a different team.
Jermaine Dye was a free agent. Frank Thomas they drafted and developed a long time ago.
Tadahito Iguchi, maybe?
No, they signed him out of Japan.
He was only good for a couple
Mark
years.
Mark Burley,
anyway.
I think, was a late-round gem in the draft.
Yeah.
John Danks they drafted and developed.
Well, see, it's all pitching.
Wait, yeah, that's right. Those guys don't count. They were pitching.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot. We were trying to find out position players. Pitching, they don't
none.
have any. The funny thing is it's mostly starters, though. They haven't drafted and developed good relief pitchers. I mean, really, Frank Thomas. I mean, Konerko they traded for. Iguchi they got out of Japan. Juan Uribe, I think they either got him in a trade or signed him. I think they got him from the Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of bad. We don't need to go through the whole thing, but yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the most exciting off seasons all around baseball. For sure, and it'll especially be exciting to see what the Cubs do to continue their success.
It'll be fun to see what the White Sox do to put them in an even worse situation.
I hope that they start to realize that the rebuilding is the right way.
Well, I remember Rick Hahn
those 10,000 fans that they average.
That's going
at the
down
games,
to probably 5 this year.
Going to keep going down,
and the thing is,
and
Rick Hahn said he doesn't believe in rebuilding. He's calling what the White Sox have a retool just to add the few pieces that they need to get really good. And if you look at that team, it has huge holes. They have catcher, third base, shortstop, second base. Probably need a new outfielder to replace one of their 3. You need a lot of new bullpen pitchers. You need 2 starting pitchers. I mean, that's a team that's nowhere close to contending.
No, it really isn't, and it's a marvel that last year people continued to think that they were. I thought they'd be a lot better than they were. But
I saw them being pretenders. Remember when they had that 7-game win streak and everyone's saying they're making the playoffs?
Oh yeah, when they took 3 out of 4 at Fenway, and they were starting to creep up to 500.
Yeah, they beat the Red Sox 3 out of 4. They swept the Indians. I'm like, do you see the kind of teams they're beating?
They're beating a bad Boston and a below average Cleveland, which they usually play pretty well against Cleveland too, especially in Cleveland. I always feel like the White Sox are winning there.
I remember the one year though that Cleveland made the playoffs and lost to Tampa Bay in the wild card game.
Yeah,
I remember in the regular season they went 18-2 against the White Sox and Twins that year.
Wow. Well, that's how they got in that position.
Yeah, that's how they barely made it to the playoffs.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and we'll give our week. Is this week 10 or week 11 of the NFL?
I think it's week 11 because the Bears had their byes. They're 4-5.
It's week 11. I could have just looked at the sheet in front of me. It's week 11, and then we'll also talk about the Bears and stuff to close out the show as they're 4-5, surprisingly enough. So stick around to Sports Renegades, SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.